Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast. I am Mike Sinopoli, certified nutrition coach, consultant, counselor, call me whatever you would like. On this episode, I want to discuss a term or phrase I would use quite often if you follow me on social media in regards to fat loss. It's a calorie deficit. A calorie deficit is the single most important thing that you want to figure out when you want to lose body fat. What a calorie deficit is a range of calories to consume daily, which is between your BMR, which is a basal metabolic rate. That is the amount of calories that your body burns at rest with no movement, no exercise. It's an estimate, but it's pretty accurate if you can get it right. That is the low end. And the high end is the caloric maintenance, which is also known as the total daily energy expenditure. That compiles your daily movement, your exercise, along with the calories burned from your BMR that we've calculated. So there's a range between there. So to use an example, we'll say that a woman has a BMR of 1,300 calories, which means that her body burns 1,300 calories at rest. If you just sat in a chair all day and did nothing, that would mean her body is going to burn 1,300 calories based on her age, her height, her weight, her anything else. And then the higher end, the maintenance, the total daily energy expenditure, is that BMR amount of calories plus daily activity, which can be how active she is with her job, her kids, and her exercise, essentially. So that will be the ceiling. Let's just say that's 1,900 calories. So we know this woman has a calorie deficit range of 1,300 to 1,900. Now, anything below 1,300 is probably going to be pretty unhealthy and do her disservice. She'll start burning muscle tissue, be hungry, and start not having enough body nutrients in her body. You're just feeling miserable if you eat that low. Metabolism slows, and you just kind of look skinny fat after a while if you eat that low calorie. So we want to stay away from those depths. You want to stay away from that. That's why I don't know why 1,200 calories is something that's always recommended to women. I don't think that's very healthy at all, especially as a starting point. It's actually very, very wrong. But so what you want to do is start this person's calorie deficit towards the top of the deficit. So if she has a 1,900 maintenance, you want to start the deficit maybe at 1,800 calories or even 1,850. That way you're eating as much as possible while burning fat. You want to eat as much food as you can so you're not hungry and you're not miserable. And that will help the longevity of your I guess call it a diet, but staying within your caloric maintenance. Because what you need to do is caloric deficit. What you need to do is stay in that caloric deficit for a very long period of time, taking breaks, which is healthy. But overall, you want to be in that caloric deficit to hit your goal weight and to lose the amount of body fat that you're looking for. 1 to 2 pounds a week is what you want to do. That's the healthiest way to lose fat while preserving muscle. Within that calorie deficit, you want to have adequate protein being consumed. So you want to have about 0.8 to 1 gram per your goal weight or your lean mass body weight. That's essential. That's very important because you don't want to lose muscle mass. That's why if you have 2 people and one of them loses 1 pound in a week and the other one loses 4 pounds and they've depleted muscle mass, I know it doesn't come off that fast, but that's just an example that the faster you lose it, you might be losing more vital muscle tissue and other things that you needed for yourself. You're just depleting yourself it's just for a scale number. So you want to keep things, between 1 to 2 pounds per week and stick with that. You also want to make sure, and another reason you start at the top of the deficit is not just the hunger thing, but you need to have somewhere to go when you plateau, and you will plateau. And a true plateau is when you see no progress for 2 to 3 weeks. Because there are going to be certain times where maybe you have a higher calorie meal or your body's retaining water, sodium intake. I know women, they're during their time of the month, they tend to retain a significant amount of water and it shows up on the scale and that can be very frustrating for them. So I help try to let them know that and to not get frustrated early on when they're going through this. So then what will happen is within the calorie deficit, you've gone from 1,800 down to 1,700 in order to bust through the plateau. So now your body's at 1,700 and it starts resuming the fat loss phase at a little bit less food. But you should be still pretty satiated with enough calories there. And then repeat that until you keep going. And it's good to take a break. Maybe sit at maintenance just for a couple of weeks at a time, just to give yourself a break and your body can recover from being so technically underfed for that long a time. And then you just go right back into it, and you might even see losses while you're in there. It's your body's just getting adapted to it. So that's that's the calorie deficit, and that's kind of how that works. And you should be eating what you like within there. You don't have to eat, specific foods or eliminate specific foods. As long as you are in your calorie deficit and hitting your protein target, to me, on a strictly body composition level, you can eat whatever else you want in there. Now, there's certain foods that are going to be like worse for you nutrient-wise, and maybe not make you feel very good, such as like Pop-Tarts or something like that, or donuts. And they might not fill you up as much as something else. So you run the risk of that by eating poorly. So I like to 80-20 it, keep things about 80%, vegetables, fruits, meat, things like that. And then everything else can be on top of that, whatever else, some sweets, some whatever treat you like, cheese, whatever else it is, whatever fits, So you want to be within that. To keep that going. Now, how do you find your calorie deficit range? Which you can do is hire a nutrition coach or counselor, somebody like me who will run it for you, help you out as you go. If you hit, stalls or get confused, you can always talk to them and readjust activity, readjust the calories, the macronutrients, whatever that might be. That's probably the most efficient way to go, biasly speaking, of course. Other ways you can do it is use some online macro calculators. You might get frustrated doing that because each calculator might give you a different result. What I would do in that case is just take an average and go from there, basically. That's what I would do. If you don't like the track or count, it's probably going to be very difficult for you to find yourself in a calorie deficit. But what you can kind of do is eat more protein in a day, or maybe just try to hit a protein target. Like if your goal weight is, say, 120 pounds, just try to eat 120 grams of protein a day and don't focus on anything else and just see what kind of progress you make doing that. You might accidentally put yourself into a calorie deficit. Granted, that's not the most ideal way to go, but if it's better than what you're doing at the present moment, it might work for you. You can also try to intermittent fast. Now, intermittent fasting itself is not burning fat for you. What it's doing is restricting time when you eat. So if you make a window of where you eat, an 8-hour window from 12 to 8, and you don't eat the other 16 hours, you might just eat less in that time frame. You might just restrict yourself from eating at certain times. You can increase your strength training and your activity levels as well. These are all ways to help get yourself into a calorie deficit. Perhaps just upping your activity can help with that. And now you're at a higher calorie deficit because you're moving more. That's probably not the best way to go about it, because we know that the food consumption is where you want to find your calorie deficit. And that's absolutely, if you refuse to track your food or weigh in or make a meal plan for yourself, or weigh your food, I should say, if you just really can't do that and you don't want to, then I guess increasing activity would be the only other alternative. Increasing protein and activity would be the best options to accidentally throw yourself into a calorie deficit, but you are just winging it at that point. To check your progress, don't just use the scale. The scale is obviously fine. Weigh in one time a week, same scale, same day, in the morning, naked, before you shower, after you piss, after you take a crap. Weigh yourself in. That's your truest weight. You don't have any water weight in there after you pee. Get some food out of you. You're not drenched from the shower, retaining water within you. So just do those types of things, and then that's the truest way to go. Don't go weighing yourself on a bunch of different scales and getting all weird with it and paranoid, because that's just letting the scale control you. You could measure your inches, of course, just see how you're feeling overall, looking in the mirror. Maybe you have a pair of jeans that you're trying to fit into that you haven't in a long time. But my favorite is progress pictures. Once a week or once a month is to take a photograph and put them side by side of yourself in the same mirror, same lighting, same time of day, all that. And that really will show your how you're progressing, I believe. So that's what I would do to really check and see if you're on the right track. A little bit of everything should hit. You'll see the scale drop. You'll see the waistline shrink. You'll see the progress pictures looking better every month. That's what you want to do. So you want to get in that calorie deficit, and if you don't have an idea of how to go get about it and you want to talk to somebody, I'm around. Social media, of course, is a great way to reach me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The handle is at MFS Wellness. And you can also email me at, Mike@mfswellness.com. So if you have any questions about how to get yourself into a calorie deficit, sustain it for a long time, need the accountability and the coaching and the training, hit me up. We can even just have a chat and go from there. So thank you for listening to this episode, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you.